Well, g'day everybody. Grant here with starting on a bit of an adventure. I'm not sure how this is going to go, but we're going to give it the best shot. New to YouTube, and what I'm going to be doing is chronicling the build on my 35 Chev two-door sedan. It's a car that I acquired a couple of years ago from a gentleman in Langley. Craigslist ad. When I first saw the ad, it kind of fired up some memories of a car that I had in New Zealand before. Actually, I left New Zealand in 1978, and prior to that I'd been building a 34 Chev two-door sedan, basically the same, almost identical car except for a pan in the back that's a little bit different, but apart from that, the cars are basically identical, I guess. And when I saw this 35 Chev two-door sedan for sale on Craigslist, I went, okay. And I wasn't really planning on doing a two-door sedan. I've actually got a yearning to build a track T, and I still would like to embark on doing one of those, but anyway, this ad kind of fired up some memories, and so I went out and took a look at the car, and I fell in love with the thought of actually completing the project that I hadn't completed in New Zealand. So that Craigslist ad, and here we go. Here's the car. It's in really good shape in terms of these cars. Generally, the wood in them disappear. It's one of the pitfalls of, I guess, the Chev vehicles of the day. But this thing here even still has the original headliner in it, and we're going to actually take that out and replace it. I would really love to keep that in there, but anyway. This video is actually going to basically, the intention of this video was to show you hot rivets. I've actually got some videos that I'll be showing you the trials and tribulations of doing the hot rivets and so forth. Here's you can see that this frame's got a lot of rivets in it, and what we did is we actually we've completed successfully actually putting in hot rivets. There's one there, another one, and we've got some over here. And actually underneath I'll see if I can get it underneath here where you can see it. There's a couple there that used to have the spring perches attached. That's what I wanted to fill, because if I was going to fill those holes with welds, it would be very hard for me to finish off the inside of them. And of course I wanted to leave the frame with those dimple die type of holes in them. I think that it's a pretty nice, cool detail, original to the car, and I wanted to leave that in there. So it wouldn't look, well, at least to me, it wouldn't look that great if there was a plug weld, the back of a plug weld that was there. So when I saw the video that Jordan Bennett of Bennetts Customs YouTube channel, and if you haven't checked him out, I highly recommend anybody that's building a car to check his channel out, as well as, of course, Make It Custom with Karl Fisher. These guys, two young, talented young fellas that are really setting the place on fire, in my opinion, at least anyway, in the way that they're actually going about doing their stuff. And of course, you have guys like Bad Chad that came out and visited Karl just recently, and went through Laurie Peterson's shop and through Luke Belog's shop, Luke's Custom Machine in North Vancouver. All really good stuff, and this is the stuff that's got me fired up to do YouTube. I don't know if I have make no misconceptions about me taking on any success with this at all. All that I'm trying to do with my submissions into YouTube channel is just to purely is to show that the stuff that Karl and what Jordan and Bad Chad or Elio Pepperoni, any of those guys have done has inspired me, and I've taken a lot of the skills that they have actually portrayed in their videos and transported them over to guys like me, and hey, there's a bit of success with it. Jordan, thank you very much for doing that video on your Model A build with the 32 frame, and where you took the cross members out and to do the repairs and everything, and instead of welding or bolting those cross members back in, you actually hot riveted. It was the inspiration for me to actually go and seek out and do this hot rivet thing, and thank you for that. It was massive inspiration, and although I will say to you that there was a couple of stages during this process, it was pretty frustrating. It was to the point where I nearly gave up. I'm glad I didn't. Anyway, here we go. Well, that didn't work, did it? So, lessons learned so far. So you'll see that little shoulder that's hanging off the side of that rivet there. Well, that's actually being caused by the weight of the hammer and the vibration and so forth. And as I'm whacking away, of course, what it does is that it pushes everything down. Whereas in contrast, this rivet here that I'm showing you right now is that's the result of gravity and the hammer being perpendicular above it. And so it pays to put the, unless you've got somebody, and I noticed with Jordan, he had the ability to hold both sides of the hammer and everything, and he had his going in straight. With this one here, I actually had to put it up on its side and get it going down so it's perpendicular. This other rivet here on the right-hand side didn't do so well. I didn't have the buck tight, and yeah, that's a no-no. You've got to have that buck tight on the back. Okay, so after many trials and tribulations, disasters, all the rest of it, I finally have come across a way of holding the buck on the back of these rivets. And what it's come down to is I've ended up using this piece here. It's just long enough that I can get a couple of these Bessie clamps that I picked up, these guys here, and you'll note that they're not the slide type clamps. These are a C clamp or a G clamp, whichever way you want to call it. G for Grant. So I've ended up actually managing to hold the back of the rivet to the point where it is solid enough where I can air hammer on it. Generally what I've got to do is heat up the rivets a couple of times to give them another whack, I guess you could say, and they've worked out actually pretty good. So in fact, I've done a couple here last night. These ones here, those two, actually have worked out pretty decent. So what I'm about to do here is to get into filling these two holes here, and we will that'll be basically it. I also found too that I was using wood to actually absorb some of the shock from the air hammer and stuff, and I went into my little shed in the corner of the property here and pulled out some of this hardwood that I'd acquired to do one of my benches outside, and this stuff actually worked really well. In fact, for doing the sides, it did absorb a bit of the shock and so forth, so that the clamps didn't undo as I was using the air hammer. But I got to tell you, it's been a bit discouraging at points. I nearly gave up, but I pushed through, and all that I can say is that the biggest thing is you've got to have the buck on the back that holds tight to the back surface of the rivet that you're pushing through, because if you don't have that, your rivet's going to be a piece of shit. So there it is. Anyway, we'll continue on here. Off the tripod here and just show you that one. Look at that. That'll clean up real nice. Anyway, Shane has been doing real well, supporting Shane, and I've got it on the TV there, so it keeps me company. But anyway, he's won 5 races this year, and so he's done really damn well. But anyway, that's I guess I'm going to do 4 more. I'm going to drill out. I think what I'm going to do is, this is actually factory in here. What I'm going to do is I'm going to drill those out and actually put rivets into there. Those were like that, I guess, right from the factory, but we may as well make it look nice, and we'll go from there. Okay, so I'm going to put rivets into these areas here to fill in. That was a factory, I'm not sure what the hell they were doing there, but I guess they sort of just plug welded it rather than putting rivets into that area. So, but in measuring them out so that I've got them lined up properly and all the rest of it, I find that I've got a couple of little areas here that I'm going to fill. I've got to get the old MIG welder out, and we'll fill just these little areas in here a little bit before we drill the holes, and we'll get that looking a little bit smoother before we put the rivets in. I guess I've got to have to do the same on the other side over here. I've got a couple of divots in there that I'm going to have to fill as well. So let's get it done. around. And this here is what is known as a sharper image tool. Again, I learned this off watching one of Karl Fisher's Make It Custom videos, and he explained how to get a DXF file made up when your maybe your computer skills aren't quite up to scratch and all the rest of it. So this is a sharper trace tool, and so what I did was, first of all, I actually had a little drawing here which I drew out into sort of scale as to what I was needing. And what I'm actually going to be doing is taking one of these. Actually, I'm going to be taking this piece here, and I'm going to be cutting off the end of it and putting a tab on the end of it. And what it will do is it will provide the leverage. When I push up on this end here, it will provide the leverage to push the buck down inside. And I made out a scale drawing of exactly the piece that I actually want, and but essentially what it is that it's off the phone, and what you do is you actually take a copy of the image, and there it is there. Oop, there we go. And what we do is we take an image, and what it does is that it scans it, and voila. And then I go to centerline, and there is my image there. I then download that image onto my computer and use Inkscape. And there is Inkscape there, and you can see the image is in there. Now when it downloads, it goes into an SVG file. What you've got to do and use Inkscape for is to convert it to a DXF file, and once in a DXF file you can put it onto a thumb drive and take it over to your plasma cutter. There's the Sharper Ace website there. It's sharpertools.com, and it's called Sharper Trace, and you can see the Canadian price on it there. I forget exactly what it was that I paid for it. And then what we do is we take it over to this tool over here, and this is another little toy that I've bought myself, and this is pretty cool. Dry run. There we go. And let's see where this goes. Maybe pull it over a little bit this way. Like that. Third and final piece. Here we go. Simple as that. Tools, tools, and more tools. Okay, so how did I end up, what were the tools that I ended up using, and which were the ones that I basically caused me all of the frustration? Well, let's go through them. So first of all, as far as getting a good clamp is concerned, yeah, absolutely. Good old Bessie clamp, slide clamp. And these are actually good Skookum clamps, but they don't work when you throw a whole lot of vibration at them. As you could see in the first part of the video there, there was a few buggers and dams and all the rest of it that went on with it. So those do not work. They don't work very well at all. We also went through and I showed you how I used the Sharper tracing tool and developed a DXF file using Inkscape. Import the file that I scanned and pulled it into Inkscape, and then made a DXF file, took it over to my ArcDroid and cut these pieces out. So I ended up actually having to cut 3 of them out, and what I did is I made this tool, and thinking it was going to expertly wedge itself in there and actually hold the actual rivet in. And I have to tell you that great idea. It sucked as far as the way that it was meant to work. It slipped out and did all kinds of things. The way it was going to do was actually going to wedge itself up against there and push itself down, you know, against the rivet. and this end up here would be held up with the clamp, and yeah, that didn't work, so we'll throw that piece away as well. One piece that did actually work for me, that holding all of the rivets in place, actually pretty rudimentary, kind of scrappy. I'm using scrap steel and all the rest of it for my buck. Probably not enough mass in this piece here by itself. I should have actually really put a whole lot more mass to it, like maybe with this here, and that probably would have actually helped a lot, looking back on it in retrospect. But what I did with this here is, between this and the wood and everything, what I would do is put the bolt, seat the bolt right down, and then wind the bolt out and wedge it in between the frame, and it would actually hold the rivet in there. This actually worked to some degree, but I have to tell you that probably wasn't the best idea. The one that actually worked the best for me was actually using this piece here as the buck. There's a good amount of steel in here, and I guess you're wondering why I ended up with these wedges. Well, I had this bright spark idea that I could maybe use these wedges. I actually saw them on Amazon. I thought, hey, that's a great idea. Maybe we can use those. And yeah, that was a bit of a harebrained idea as well, so we threw that one out. It didn't last very long. So McMaster & Carr is the place where I got the rivets from, and so the rivets here are the 3/8 solid steel rivets, and with the mushroom head on them. What you do with these rivets is that you leave 1.5 times the diameter exposed out between, like if you've got your two pieces of metal, whatever the length of that is, plus 1.5 times the diameter of these. And so you leave that exposed, and what it does is that it leaves you the correct amount of metal to actually shape the head properly on the other side. So the tool that I actually got from McMaster Carr was this piece right here. Now what I had to do with this, actually it's got the end on here. What I had to do with this is actually grind this piece down a little bit. On a couple of rivets, as you've seen in the video, as I went too far and I put a ring into the steel around the outside of the rivet, kind of takes away from the look of it a little bit. But anyway, so what I did was I just ground this off, and the rest of the rivets actually came out pretty cool. So that worked out quite well. One thing that I did discover is that these air hammers actually come with the shaft sizes of two sizes. 0.41 is the size for this air hammer, and the bit that McMaster Carr sent me is 0.49. Yeah, it don't fit in there. So what we ended up doing was I ended up cutting off one of my other 0.41 bits and sacrificing that, and what we did was we just simply welded the 0.49 bit right onto it, and Zach is a really good welder, and he just TIG welded that on there for me, and it lasted very, very well. So nice little weld. Thanks, Zach, for doing that for me, and it worked out real sweet. So anyway, that's about it as far as the tools are concerned. It all worked out in the end. Like I say, tons of frustration, but very rewarding in the end. The look is actually pretty cool. One thing I should say is that the rivets that I've put in are not structural. They're only for appearance, but they actually, I guess that they would be if I had to put in a cross member. I think I'd give it a go, and I'd actually rely on the rivets actually holding it in the way it's meant to. So yeah, it was pretty good experience. Again, I've thanked Jordan Bennett several times through this video. I'm going to thank him again, and it all worked out really cool. So next part of the project, we'll just give you just a quick little brief introduction as to what we're going to be doing there. Just hang on and we'll be right with you. Okay, so for the next adventures that we're going to be getting into, we're going to be playing around with this little piece down here. We're actually going to be making up a patch panel for it, and I've actually had a couple of goes at doing this already, and it's not really much of a patch panel that's required, but it's got a little bit of couple of difficulties with it. I've already actually started, this is one of my first attempts at actually making the panel. It's got the nice curve in it, which actually matches the curve that's in there. I've got that matched up. That actually matches up pretty good. But the problem that we've got with this piece of the panel here, and actually I was thinking, well, maybe I've got to, get a plenishing hammer and so forth. What I've actually got to do here is I've actually got to make it so that it's actually got that profile on it as well. And of course what I've done is I've gone and put this profile on it. Now there's no way in hell that I'm going to bend it this way. So I'm going to make the new panel. I've got Karl's profiling tool here with the piece already set to go pretty well. Actually, I've got to cut out a new bit because it's not quite right. But anyway, that's going to be my next video. So I guess it's this is the part where I say, hit like, subscribe, and notifications if you want to follow along with the rest of this build and getting it done. I'm going to be I've got one of those bouncy castle bloody paint booths, and we're going to be doing the paint job and everything on this thing. But so yeah, there's going to be some interesting stuff coming along, I guess. It's going to be interesting for me. Maybe for you too. Anyway, wait for the next one. Take care.